Well, now I want you to do one thing just for a second or two. Listen to this. We're right in the centre of a bustling capital city of Afghanistan, and it's virtually silent. The main roads into this city are cut off, completely shut down. All businesses closed. There is a colossal security operation for what is being billed as this country's first democratic handover of power. It certainly is not, obviously tonight, given our headlines, a peaceful handover of power, and nor could that possibly happen in this long-running civil war. Is it democratic? That's equally a much more difficult question to answer, and on that rests the hopes, yes, of the West who are funding the election, but most importantly of all, the Afghan people. We've been taking a look at the three leading candidates in this extraordinary election, and the polls open tomorrow.
The soundtrack would make Tarantino blush. This is the wildness of the Hindu Kush. The feast is prepared. Down in the valley, 10,000 men and 0 women. This is the Panjshir Valley, the part the Soviets and the Taliban never reached.
Panjshir, because of its brave people, it has such a reputation that terrorists and the Taliban couldn't capture it.
Presidential hopeful Zalmay Rasool, one of 3 front-runners, pays his dues. Doctor, former foreign minister, and very much outgoing President Karzai's favoured man. Rasool is unmarried, and that raises eyebrows in Afghanistan. He was also done this week for election intimidation. That doesn't raise many eyebrows. In Kabul, the ballot boxes are going out from a warehouse with a hole in the roof from last Saturday's Taliban rockets. Insurgent intimidation, candidate corruption, but Western taxpayers are forking out $100 million for this poll. For that price, the West wants an election result here, no matter what the cost in terms of corruption and intimidation, for there is, quite simply, no plan B.
The future of Afghanistan is stability, its continued partnership with the international community, its continued growth in strength in terms of its institutions of army, its economy and political stability is largely dependent on this election, and Afghans are well aware of this.
And pleading for long-term international support, Abdullah Abdullah, second in the last election before pulling out in a barrage of fraud allegations.
I'm not saying there is a quick fix for what has happened in the past few years. After all, the international terrorism considers this part of the world as its global capital, and it will need a continued effort rather than today, tomorrow.
The only non-Pashtun candidate, he's off to the Pashtun heartland down in Kandahar. And his campaign people want the world to know it. A party political broadcast, Afghan style. First, the build-up and the big welcome in Kandahar.
We, the Mujahideen people of Kandahar, are with you, at your side, all the way, God willing.
And cue violins. Back in the capital, Ghazi Stadium, where the Taliban used to conduct public amputations and executions. There's dancing, there's music, there's synchronized placard waving, but there's also this, women, segregated of course from the men. This is something almost unthinkable anywhere except Kabul. Women coming together and taking part in the political process. But not just that, you've got 2 communities here, traditionally very much at each other's throats. Hazaras and Uzbeks coming together to take part in a political rally. Showtime all right, but the star, is the rather quiet Ashraf Ghani, technocrat, former World Bank official and finance minister. So he needs some muscle and persuasion in his campaign, and who better than the man on his right, the notorious warlord Rashid Dostum. No smiles there.
Today we celebrate that nobody lives in silence here anymore. Every Afghan is deciding for themselves.
If only. He knows very well, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions, will either be intimidated into voting a certain way or intimidated into not voting at all. But, as every Afghan knows too, it is the ballot box, however imperfect, or it's the gun.
Don't bet the farm on any outright winner. There'll probably have to be a runoff now. That could be another several weeks before they do finally elect a president. It could be high summer when the heat is on in Afghanistan in more ways than one. Back to you, Krishnan.